The registry was never wrong. That was the first thing every new cadet at the Interstellar Academy learned. Not the flight protocols, not the xenobiology primers, not the 17-page document on cross-species diplomatic etiquette. The first lesson was this: the companion registry is never wrong. The system had been running for 63 years. It analyzed biology, psychology, behavioral history, stress responses, sleep cycles, dietary rhythms, and 100 other variables that no single mind could hold at once. It matched every incoming cadet, human, Verikai, Sulhuri, Drevathi, all 11 enrolled species, with a compatible companion from another species for the duration of their 4-year program. The pairings were legendary. Lifelong friendships, cross-species partnerships that had reshaped galactic history. In 63 years, the registry had never returned an error. Until Zara. Cadet Zara Ose saw the message at 0600 on her first morning, bleary-eyed and still in her academy-issue sleep clothes, her dark braids loose around her face. She read it 3 times before the words stopped making sense and started making a different kind of sense. Companion Registry, Placement Notice. Cadet Zara Ose, Human Earth Lagos Origin. Status, Unmatched. Reason, no compatible companion identified. Action required. Report to Registry Office, Level 3. Unmatched. In 63 years. She stared at the screen. Then she put it face down on her bunk, got dressed, and went to breakfast, because she was from Lagos and her grandmother had raised her to eat before she panicked. The dining hall was a spectacular chaos of species. Sulhuri cadets clustered near the high-humidity corner, their gill fronds fanning gently in the mist. A pair of Drevathi, massive, 6-limbed, covered in rust-red fur, occupied an entire table by themselves, eating something that moved. Humans were scattered throughout, still visibly adjusting to the scale and noise of it all. Zara loaded her tray, found an empty table by the viewport, and was halfway through her eggs when a shadow fell across her. She looked up. The creature standing beside her table was approximately the size of a large dog, covered in dense amber and black striped fur, with 6 articulated limbs, 4 for locomotion, 2 forearms currently clasped in front of its broad chest in what Zara's Xenoprimer identified as a polite greeting posture. Its head was wide and flat, predator-structured, with forward-facing golden eyes the size of her fist. A ridge of darker fur ran from its crown to its shoulders. A scar crossed its muzzle, pale against the dark stripes. It was a Drevathi juvenile, a cub, technically adolescent by their standards, which meant roughly equivalent to a human 17-year-old despite standing chest-high on her and weighing, she estimated, close to 80 kilograms. It was also holding, tucked under one of its lower limbs, a rolled sleeping pad. Zara set down her fork. The cub looked at her with its great golden eyes. Then, in careful, clearly rehearsed standard, it said, "You are Cadet Zara. The registry matched us this morning. I am Owen." She blinked. The registry said I was unmatched. The registry was recalculating, Owen said, with the particular gravity of someone who had prepared this sentence very carefully. I submitted a late compatibility request. It was approved at 0547. The golden eyes did not blink. Drevathi, she recalled, blinked rarely. I have brought my sleeping pad. I am told human companions prefer to choose furniture placement themselves, so I waited. Zara looked at the sleeping pad. She looked at Owen. She looked at the sleeping pad again. You want to sleep in my room? The companion program assigns shared quarters. With species-compatible roommates. Yes, but she stopped. Reconsidered. The cub was watching her with an expression she couldn't yet read, but which contained, she thought, something careful and hoping. Owen, why did you request me specifically? Out of every unmatched cadet. A pause. Owen set the sleeping pad down beside her table. Just set it on the dining hall floor, utterly unbothered, and folded its forearms in a gesture the primer labeled honest disclosure. You were listed as unmatched, it said. The registry could not place you because your stress profile, your behavioral history, your sleep rhythms, they fell outside all existing compatibility parameters for the enrolled species. The golden eyes held her steadily. You were too much of something. The system could not find a match that would not be overwhelmed by you. The dining hall noise continued around them. Zara sat very still. And you thought what? That you wouldn't be overwhelmed. No. Owen said simply. I thought the opposite. I thought that I am the only cadet enrolled who is also outside all compatibility parameters. The registry did not match me either before I requested you. I am. A brief pause, the Drevithi equivalent of searching for words. I am also too much of something. Zara looked at this amber-striped predator cub standing in the middle of an Interstellar Academy dining hall, sleeping pad tucked under its arm, asking to be her companion with the devastating directness of a species that had never evolved the instinct to soften hard truths. She picked up her fork. Sit down, she said. Eat something. Then we'll go sort out the room. Owen's fur rippled. A full-body motion she would later learn was the Drevithi equivalent of a relieved exhale. It settled onto the floor beside her chair. The chairs were not built for six-limbed anatomy, and produced a wrapped food packet from somewhere in its fur, and they ate breakfast together in surprisingly comfortable silence. The room was a problem, then it wasn't. The bed situation was resolved when Zara simply said, "Floor is fine for your pad. You choose the spot." And Owen chose the space directly beside her desk, not the center of the room, not beside the door, but beside her desk, where she would be working, and something about that felt like a declaration Zara didn't yet have language for. The first week was a study in mutual recalibration. Owen, she discovered, was profoundly, almost aggressively attentive. Drevithi predators tracked everything, not in a threatening way. In the way of a creature whose entire evolutionary heritage was built around noticing before something became a problem. It noticed when she was tired before she admitted it. It noticed when her shoulders went tight during tactical theory lectures. It noticed, on the fourth day, that she was skipping lunch because the human dining line was backed up and she didn't want to navigate the interspecies protocols of cutting through the sulhuri section, and it appeared at her study room door with a food tray it had assembled for her without comment or explanation, set it on her desk, and went back to its own work. Zara, Owen discovered, was what the registry had labeled outside all compatibility parameters for a very specific reason. She was the kind of person who filled a room not by being loud, but by being present. Her gravitational field was psychological rather than physical. Other cadets oriented toward her without noticing they were doing it. Study groups coalesced at her table. Arguments brought to her for adjudication stayed adjudicated. In crisis simulations, cadets who had never met her took cues from her body language before their own team leaders. The academy staff noticed. They had a word for it in 6 languages. In Standard, the closest translation was Axis, the person around whom a group naturally organized. The registry had marked her unmatched because no existing species profile could handle being companion to an Axis without losing their own center of gravity. Owen was not losing its center. If anything, Owen was becoming more Owen. On the 3rd week, during a night ops simulation that went badly sideways, a training scenario involving a damaged ship, conflicting orders, and 60 cadets making increasingly poor decisions in the dark, Zara stood in the center of the chaos and started giving clear, calm directions. Not because she had been assigned to, because someone had to, and she was who she was. Owen, operating on the other side of the simulated wreck, heard her voice carrying through the darkness. It stopped what it was doing. Then it did something no Drevithi cadet had ever done in a recorded academy simulation. It deferred its own mission objective and moved through the chaos to her position, where it placed itself at her flank, not behind her, not in front of her, but precisely beside her, and became her second. And between the two of them, they extracted 37 cadets from a scenario that the training instructors had designed to be unwinnable. The debrief was long. The lead instructor, a silver-haired Sulhuri commander named Veth, looked at the simulation record for a long moment. "Cadet Owen," she said, "you abandoned your assigned objective." "Yes," Owen said. "Why?" Owen's golden eyes moved to Zara, then back to Commander Veth. "Because the objective the simulation assigned me," it said calmly, "was less important than the one I identified myself." Veth looked at Zara. Zara looked at the wall with the expression of someone successfully not smiling. "The registry," Veth said slowly, "flagged Cadet Osei as unmatched for 62 days. First time in the program's history." She set down her data pad. "Then a Drevithi cub submitted a late request, and now we have a team that just solved an unsolvable scenario." A long pause. "I'm updating both your profiles." "To what?" Zara asked. Commander Veth almost smiled. A rare event in Sulhuri facial anatomy. Matched, she said. Obviously. That night, Owen carried its sleeping pad back from the common room where it had been displaced during room inspection, set it down beside Zara's desk in its chosen spot, turned twice in a circle, a predator's instinct, older than starships, and lay down. Zara turned off her desk lamp. Owen. Yes. The registry, she said, into the dark. It took 62 days to figure us out. Yes. Does that bother you? A pause. The long, considered silence of a predator who chose its words the way its ancestors had chosen their ground. No, Owen said. Some things are not found by algorithm. Some things find each other. Zara lay back and looked at the ceiling of her room among the stars. Outside the viewport, the galaxy burned quietly on. Yeah, she said. That sounds right.